Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I have with me another very special guest, Alyssa Couture. This is my kind of pronunciation. How are you, Alyssa?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Guy?
Yeah, I'm good. We're talking today about a subject that I have a kind of a lacuna. I have a hole in my knowledge, shall we say, when it comes to fashion. Uh, and I want to know more, and I'm hopeful that people will also be interested to know about fashion. So, can you tell me exactly what you do and present yourself?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me on your show, by the way.
You,
I am Alyssa Couture, and I am a fashion author and a fashion entrepreneur. I also have delved into different types of projects and employment in fashion. I produced a fashion show. I had a small handmade fashion brand at one time. I have worked retail and retail management for quite some time in the past. Um, I was also an illustrator, and most of it was fashion illustration, and those are projects that have gotten into books and a deck of oracle cards. So I definitely dabbled in terms of fashion, and that's why I feel I could write this book, Healthy Fashion. Just to show you, this is the book that
yes.
me and Guy will be talking about.
Plug number
Um,
one, yeah. So,
yes.
yes.
So with this with this base of knowledge that I've accumulated with the different types of work and fashion history and fashion experience that I've had, with other types of things included, it really got me immersed into eco fashion and then fashion research. So the Healthy Fashion campaign that I have is a campaign that is backing up the book, and it's also just a sort of a campaign that promotes fashion for health, fashion for healing, fashion as an alternative health treatment, fashion that is medicinal, and all of these types of terminology terms that we can use. And it's sort of the new part of the new trend, wellness fashion and healthy fashion. And this is not extremely common, but it is definitely out there, and we're definitely pushing to get past the eco fashion, past the sustainable fashion, and into the realm of healing fashion, fashion that can treat the body therapeutically, and it already does. If we're wearing our cotton garments, it's already treating us. If we're wearing our different colors, the colors are treating us, and the different types of silhouettes are treating our body. So it's not a new thing, it is actually an ancient art. It's an ancient art, fashion for health, because back in the day they started with plants, they started with plant-based materials, and now we're sort of devoted to synthetic polyester. But we're getting, well, we're not getting away from it. We have to make more plant-based fabrics in order to bring the reduction of polyester, acrylic, acetate, rayon, some of those semi-synthetics down. So I guess with that being said, really the true work that I do is I come up with solutions on how we can create a healthier fashion industry and a healthier wardrobe, because I do talk about a lot of different aspects of sustainable fashion, because it's true, we have to cure the environment. But when we cure the body with fashion, we actually extend it outward, and it cures the environment.
Mm,
So I guess with all of the different things that are going on in the fashion industry, it's a very busy, hectic type of industry. What it has come down to is there's a little bit of issue with sustainable fashion because they are promoting the use of plastic bottle fabric and all this plastic, and plastic has a bunch of chemicals, and plastic is also acidic in nature, and it has been also stated in quite a bit of research that it's carcinogenic. So we have to, so sustainable fashion is not necessarily the healthiest type of fashion that they're promoting because it's just too much plastic. We're still recycling the polyester like crazy, and I still wear some polyester. I when you live in a cold climate, there's not a lot of options for plant-based outerwear apparel, but I do talk about it in my book, different ways we can wear outerwear that's plant-based, and different options that designers can elevate their collections and creating more plant-based outerwear, which is possible. It's just not that common. Now, if I were to live in the tropics, it would be easy to just dress in a bunch of cotton or linen or hemp or, nettle or rami, all those plants. It would be easy to dress in those plants because of the climate. But what we're dealing with a lot of the colder conditions, the colder weather apparel is predominantly synthetic. I mean, we have some animal, but animal's always going to be niche because it would exploit the animal if we went more than 1%. Yeah. So we have a dominating force of synthetic polyester fabric. And I do believe that if we buy more plants, there will be a demand for more plants. If we buy more plant-based fabric, we will be creating demand. And that's really what we have to do because, it's one thing the industry wants to create a quick penny, and because it's cheaper to produce, but at the same time, we have to get into the realm of understanding that polyester is not really feeding our body the way it needs to. It's not really. There's a lot of unbreathable properties to synthetic. If I do wear polyester, it's an outer layer, so I can breathe underneath. But if we start wearing the nylon tight and the tight tank tops, the tight polyester tank tops and all of that, that's really actually causing a block between the skin, because this is not the only place where we breathe. We breathe through our nose and our mouth, but our skin, our entire body is like a breathing source of energy. It's constantly filtering and breathing. So having these different types of plants on our body, and I have concluded with a solution to how we can create the demand for plant-based fabrics, and that is produce more plant-based fabrics in different types of plants versus cotton and linen, because we're stressing out those two plants. We could probably potentially dress the world in cotton and linen, but we have more advanced ways.
Sounds like a song, yeah.
Yes, and I have concluded about 35 different types of plants back in history and from now that were once used as a textile. And when we cultivate these different types of plants from all around the world, we're going to be able to, the environment will flourish because we'll have more plants, plant gardens, seaweed farms, for example. We could be dressing in seaweed. There's new developments of seaweed fiber for fabrics, as well as using them as the pigment. So it's a really a fascinating thing that we're going to be going into, and it's cultivating different types of plants versus just using cotton and linen, because we will never dominate, plant-based fashion will never dominate if we just use those two plants. And that is what I've concluded, and this is just one part of what healthy fashion is. Um, there's multiple different types of topics that I talk about. I talk about social dynamics, and I do have a blog where I have been documenting some types of content that lead up to what I'm talking about with you. But the social dynamics, there is a hierarchy in fashion, and I talk about universal fashion that minimizes the different types of hierarchies that fashion can sort of, become stressful with the elite fashion. So I talk about the archetypes, the fashion archetypes, actually the Jungian archetypes, and how, like, the innocent, the rebel.
I'm sorry, can you elaborate on the different kinds of echelons, shall we say, of the fashion kind of hierarchy?
Yes, yes. So we're kind of in a little bit of a we're held in captivity with these types of government controlled ways of design, and we see it a lot in haute couture and ready to wear. Ready to wear, those are the clothes that, it's $1,000 for a jacket.
Damn.
It's expensive. It's totally expensive.
Yeah.
But the one thing I love about ready to wear is it does inspire people. It's pure creativity. It's extremely inspiring, the collections that they produce. But it's expensive, and there's only a certain amount of people that can wear these clothes, and they really do have to be filtered through down into the mainstream sectors of fashion where people can afford it. That's really where we have to go, because we're walking around, and there are different types: mass, budget, contemporary, ready to wear. And what we're seeing is, as the price point raises, some of these conflicts of between people's classes, social classes, occurs. So my theory is we have to develop a stronger language, a stronger fashion language.
I know a lot of people who, don't have a dime on their kind of gluteus maximus, but they can afford, shall we say, a new Nike Air, shall we?
Yes. Yep. Yes, no, I mean, yeah, that's true. There's so many different types of cultures and subcultures within fashion. And what I sort of have spoken about in the book a little bit is creating more social equality through fashion. And there's ways to do this, and part of it is having a form of fashion communication where it speaks to everybody. Because I'm not talking about everybody dressed the same. I'm talking about, well, we can all share these different types of trends and identities, and we can share them at equal value so that we can all feel supported by these different types of fashions. And it's a little bit of a game. Fashion can be a bully. Fashion can become very bullyish. It can
like Mean Girls. Yeah.
Yes, it can be very strongly stated where people are feeling neglected, people are feeling uncomfortable. And I do, as a form of fashion therapy for ourselves, I think part of it is connecting with our wardrobe on a really non-artificial level and feeling the strength of our identities, that we are not just bohemian, we are not just
Yes.
you
Elitist,
know
yeah.
we're not these different types of
Yes.
styles. And I do talk a lot about style genres, and style genres being when we bring in the different types of style genres within our wardrobe, it will create less elitist attitude. And there's actually a government, there's an actual government, I don't know if it was from England, but there's an actual government that controls fashion, controls the fashion ready-to-wear shows. So it's literally government controlled, and it's
not a Western country, probably.
Well, you would be surprised at Western culture. Everybody has something wrong with there's always dysfunction, I believe, in every country.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely things balance that needs to occur within all industries, and including fashion. So that is one part of that I don't often talk about. I think this was the first podcast that I spoke about the fashion genres, and
exclusive, yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm happy about it. I think it's going to go somewhere. There's different types of subtopics within universal fashion that I talk about more explicitly, about how we can develop our own fashion identity and feel strong within the community of fashion, so that we're not feeling left out or feeling controlled, because sometimes fashion can be controlling to a degree. But my style is very, actually, I would say simple. It's just comfortable. I do my best to try to find clothing that is a little bit more decorative, but I tend to wear more simple clothing because it's just, I guess it might be some of my spiritual background, living at monasteries and ashrams. They always wore the simple robes. Yeah, so there was always wearing the simple robes, and I think the simplicity of my wardrobe is probably, I need the clarity, I need the the meditational aspect of being minimal.
You need the seaweed, the seaweed on your skin. Yeah.
Yes, I still need to. I have not tried sea cell. I have to try it. But yeah, no, that's the future. The future, the sea cell, and it is in production right now. But there's going to be a lot more developments of seaweed fabric.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is the kind of a starting point for the conversation. This was a great introduction. That's lovely. But I just want to ask you a few questions if you're willing. When did you want to become a kind of a fashion designer or decorative designer, wanted to work in the industry, want to develop your own brand?
Yes, thank you. So I was about 15 years old is when I was in high school, and I'd have a binder of drawings, fashion drawings.
Yeah.
So I started drawing it in art classes in high school, and I would draw these figures, these fashion illustrations, boys and girls, and a lot of the fashion was very alternative, just interesting or abstract. I just had a lot of fun drawing the fashion. So then I decided to go to college in San Francisco, move from New Hampshire to San Francisco in America. And I went to Academy of Art University and I majored in fashion design. Unfortunately, I didn't graduate. It was a 5-year program, but I did spend 4 years there. So it was just, I had like 8 more classes to go, but I just decided not to. But that was my base. That was really my base place of learning about fashion, learning about art, learning about the industry, learning about the business. And then after that, there was just a series of lots of jobs. I tend to go to a job and then leave after I learn about it and I get bored. I just have to move on and learn about something new. So I did a lot of traveling. I worked a lot of retail. I did the fashion fine art illustration projects. I worked on the fashion show production that I did. I know there's other things, but with being a fashion designer, I knew that I actually got into Saks Fifth Avenue Emerging Designer Talent Show competition at one point in the year 2015. So that's really what made me realize I had talent in design. And I'd like to pick up design again, but I've just been really busy and I'm probably sort of going to be writing book 2 soon. And I sort of, I'm just into the realm of writing, of fashion writing. But with my fashion design work, I got into Whole Foods pop-up shops. I sold in a small boutique and online. And these pieces, these garments, they were not simple. They were not too simple. They were not like ornate and over the top, but they had just enough details to give to make it feel like it was super modern. I love modern fashion. I just love modern fashion.
And the bougie style, yeah.
I wouldn't call it bougie style.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a short. Nobody knows this, but it's a short for a bourgeoisie, which means the kind of urban upper urban class, yeah, upper middle urban class. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's probably not upper class. I don't think I
Yeah,
designed
yeah,
upper class.
upper middle.
Yeah. Well, I designed, yeah, for the upper middle. Apparently, design quality is definitely an upskill design quality. Yeah. Uh, but it was really the connections I made at Whole Foods, those, and in giving people the garments and having them, they went and tried them on. That's really what made it significant for me, and making me realize that I could make a product that people really wanted to wear. And they were all in nice fabrics, hemp cotton jersey, sweatshirt types of, there was the lyocels, I did the bamboo,
Wow,
cotton,
that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
How
all
does
different.
how does a kind of the production process of a bamboo, getting it ready for, yeah, for
Well,
being.
I didn't use too much bamboo. The lyocell bamboo and the natural bamboo is fine. There
Mm,
has been issues with it not being sustainable if it was rayon bamboo.
mm,
I don't know if you've heard of that, but the
yeah,
rayon bamboo is not as it's not made in a sustainable way, and I think they might use more chemical processing. But there's 2 types of bamboo that is okay, and there's the natural bamboo, which is actually feels like a linen. It's
mm,
processed like a linen. Just strip it, and it's like a
mm,
linen. And
yeah,
then the next one is the lyocell bamboo, which is a soft, supple jersey, a really comfortable fabric.
mm,
And because lyocell, the processing is healthier than the rayon, it's generally good to wear at this point.
yeah, cool. So you said you didn't finish kind of the program of the fashion design, but I know a lot of great people who dropped out of college, shall we say, or were stopped in the middle, or changed their course of studies into a different field. Um, but I want to talk about fashion. I don't know why I talk about your education, but but I want to talk about something you mentioned that is very interesting to me when you talked about the kind of antique or kind of old ways of healing through the garments we wear or the robe or the attire or whatever you want to call it. Um, can you elaborate on that kind of idea because it's so interesting, like the body can heal through the clothes, or there is some kind of a passive, shall we say, healing process that is being done while
Yes,
wearing the clothes. So
yes. Okay, let that clues in a little bit of what I was going to say. And yes, this is an important aspect of the book, and there's a couple examples I can give you. In ancient Egypt, um, they wore mineral makeup. They would
mm,
crush crystals and they would put the makeup on men and women.
yeah,
And these crystals were healing to them. And the types of mineral powders that they used were very healing. So I know it's makeup, but fashion is makeup. So
yes,
they did use in ancient Egypt a lot of the makeup that helped heal the body. Another one is there's types of materials that we can use and put into fabrics, like ormus gold. This is also an ancient practice of threading gold into threads. I still have yet to look at how they've been able to do that. I don't know if they paint the gold on the thread. I think there is a
yeah.
way of actually threading the gold, but the gold, I mean, it sounds expensive, but
It sounds
there's
hard,
also,
extremely hard to produce. Yeah,
yes, but it's to wear the coppers and the silver threads
mm,
and some of these metallic threads is also was found in ancient times, and these metals,
yeah.
when worn that way, did help them. Let me think. What else? I actually have a section in the book that talks about Mexico, the Aztecs, Israel, the Israelis, different places in the world that were important, ancient
Okay,
public figures in the name of what they did with their fashion. I know Native Americans in America, the Native Americans would have pouches.
mm,
They would have these little pouches and they put feathers and seeds and beads and crystals and little, things that would protect them. And they put it in the pocket or they put it like on an accessory. And I think they still do this to this day. But these types of pouches are supposed to be very magical and healing to the body. And it doesn't just take, thinking that it would actually work like a placebo. They
yes.
actually do
Yes, I
act. They
heard,
do act.
yeah, I'm sorry to stop you, but I heard that this kind of a shaman knowledge and wisdom has gotten recognition in the eyes of the, shall we say, formal education. Yeah, and to the university programs. They've added courses that
Oh,
teach that kind of science. Maybe the more kind of open universities and the more liberal colleges, but I think it should be studied if it has any value. Anything in this world has some kind of value. Yeah.
yes, definitely. That's actually really inspiring that they're teaching those classes of shamanism. Uh, I'd like to take one personally.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. But so another thing, another ancient practice was the robe. And
Mhm.
the robe, they, in one place, um, the robe is predominantly worn in cotton fabric. So that's one thing that clues you in as to the plants being, having this plant connection, this plant spirit, the plant spirit connection between the earth plants, and wearing them is really a really popular thing. You know, back in ancient times, that's all they wore. And I think they were they were producing hemp fabric up until, I can't give you the date, I forget the date, but I think it was around, could be 1850, don't quote me on that. But
I
at this
won't.
point, they were wearing lots of plants, and the robe was a spiritual, magical element to the monks and the swamis and the Buddhists and the holy angelic beings. The robe was a sacred art
Yeah.
too to wear. And I actually remember one person telling me, you know, sometimes you don't always bless the guru or the swami, you bless the robe, because it has such power just
Yeah.
in its presence. When you're being, you know, present with the robe and you're
Yeah.
observing it, it has a very sacred, powerful
Yeah, like the
feel.
golden fleece. Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely. That would be lovely. Um, so yeah, let me think if there's some other. The samurais. The
Mm.
samurais would. The samurai warriors would dye
Mm.
their undergarments in indigo,
Mm.
and these indigo was medicinal, and they would be treating the body while they wore the plant dyes. The indigo plant dyes were treating the samurai warriors while they while they wore them. So that was another really exciting thing that I found, that they they really connected with these plants on a really super intelligent level. They didn't just pass them off and act like it was just, you know, it is what it is. They truly
Yes.
brought significance to these people's lives. So there's
Yes.
just so many examples. I could go on about, you know, the ancient times. I know the weaving practice is a very special part of people's healing, but that's not really fashion externally. That's the production end. Um, but I think that the whole society really needs to advance, and we can bring these plants and these medicinal aspects in a modern take, a
Mm.
modern level, and truly bring them into the sphere of advanced, futuristic, really like fun, and not like, you know, not like the, we're gonna go wear a burlap sack and, you know that typical burlap sack thing, clothing. That's not what I'm about, and that's not what the future of healthy fashion is. The future of healthy fashion embraces all styles, but they're also going to be revamped and modernized and made into aspects where people feel connected to other people, yet in an artistic way.
Mm.
We can observe people's fashion and we can connect with it, but we can know that it's their signature. It's just as much as it's my signature if I wore the same garment. So there's a lot of psychology to it too, that we have to take into consideration
Yeah.
for us, for people like you that like fashion. Like, you clearly like fashion and you're
Yeah, I
interested
love
in
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't
mean
know how
that's
to do it, but I love it.
you don't even have to. You don't have to know. You don't have. You know fashion. You don't have to know how to do it to know fashion. That's what I believe.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I don't know how to wear it kind of fashionably.
Oh, I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. I'm sure. I'm sure you do. Some of the most, boring outfits. Like it's not boring. You're wearing a nice shirt. It's a
Yeah,
nice black.
it has a kind of a, how do you call this, zipper? This is this is a ghetto shirt because it has a zipper around the collar. Yeah,
Oh, that's kind of neat,
that's
actually.
yes, yes.
Yeah, like
This is
a tough
yeah.
guy, like that urban.
This is Armenian style. Yeah, it's,
That's nice.
it's,
That's
it's, this
that's
is
clever. That's stylish. I wouldn't say that's not stylish at all. I mean, I actually have to. I pretty much have to dress more stylish, but they say when you're like a designer, some of the fashion people have the worst time dressing themselves. Like they can be like totally amazing at designing and styling other people, but when it comes down to the person, like me as a designer, sometimes I just find myself like, what am I doing? I thought I was in fashion. Like, what am
yes,
I wearing?
yes.
I do that a lot.
This is not an Instagram ready photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta try that look, dry before I actually post it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about different facets of fashion, and there is one that we haven't touched upon. We touched upon, like, circumventally, shall we say, but to talk about fashion as a kind of representation of a culture, shall we say, because there are different cultures that have a lot of different garments and different articles of clothes that are unique to that culture. So, can you talk about the kind of philosophical question or social question that's talking about clothing as a kind of national identity?
Yes. Well, um, I, everybody gets kind of jealous of everybody's wardrobe. Oh, I want to wear that. I want to wear that. Like, you look at a country and you're like, I wish I could wear that. So I think I don't have so much the answer as national identities being the answer to fashion. I think we have to sort of be more of a melting pot. I think we have to sort of bring each other's influence and not call it cultural appropriation. I think we truly should be able to wear other people's designs and other cultures' designs and not feel
Yes.
like we're stealing or we're mocking. I
I
think
bought
that's
this.
very
This pen was produced in Japan, but I bought it in a different place. Is that like cultural?
exactly.
Is
You
that
know,
cultural
yeah.
appropriation? Yeah.
See, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's truly what I feel. I can go, have pizza, and I'm
Yes.
not from Italy, but I'm eating pizza, so it's like, you know. But I think that there is a way to bring different countries sort of in union. I call it universal fashion because yes,
Mm,
there's strong national identities, but I believe that once we start building more production with plants from around the world and having more advanced machinery,
mm,
so instead of say in Mexico they're using some of these smaller tribes are using loom as the and they're spending 3 weeks on a dress. Well, I'm
mm.
sorry, but I just don't think there's fairness in that. Whether or not
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
culture, whether it's not tradition, it's respected and I respect it. But I think that families and communities have to rise up and we all sort of, have to advance our textile machinery. And the reason why I say this in regards to your question is in regard to your question is when we modernize some of the more underdeveloped communities, we're going to be developing more advanced fashion and more universal fashion. It's all going to kind of come together. It's all going to be brought together. I personally, I think that with the national identity, everybody can be proud of where they come from, but there's too much segregation. There's too much jealousy. There's too much, who is more. It's very segregated.
Yeah, who did it first, shall we say? Who wore
Yeah,
it? Yeah, who wore it better, shall we say, in this case?
yeah. I think so. We really just have to really push the limits in getting this hierarchy resolved
Mm,
and bringing up the middle class, because 90% of society is middle class, and not making, and just rising up the classes and making it more balanced, and
mm,
in the name of fashion. Because people can really push their weight when they're wearing designer clothes, or when they're using fashion as a weapon, because fashion can be used as a weapon. Definitely through the stereotypes.
yeah.
Like all these stereotypes are a bit artificial, and I talk about stereotypes and the archetypes and how we have to bring fashion through the archetypes. These are the
Mm,
healthy,
yes.
holistic ways of viewing a human being. It's natural, it's holistic, it's respectful, it's honorable, versus calling someone, a punk. Oh, you're a punk. You're a
Yeah.
punk rocker because you dress like that, or you're a jock. We have we're minimalizing our view of fashion.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
dumbing it down. Because if I look at someone and they're, say, they're dressed like a cheerleader. Do you see cheerleader clothes, or do you see, or not a cheerleader? What are the different types of stereotypes? A
Uh,
rapper, a rapper.
yeah, hipster.
See,
Yeah.
a hipster, exactly. So, do you see the hipster, or do you see um, an adventurer, which the archetype is an
Oh,
adventurer? So, do we want
cool.
to look? Yeah. So, do we want to look at, oh, that person is a hipster, or oh, that person is an adventurer? Like, it's just honoring and respecting the
Yeah.
soul. So,
He's
I
going to
believe.
adventures in Starbucks. Yeah. So
Well,
that's.
there's the different archetypes, and the adventurer, like the adventurer is like the hero, and say
Yeah.
uh, say the jock.
Mm.
You look at someone wearing sports clothing,
The
and you're like, oh,
poet,
he's
the
what?
auteur, the artiste. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Different
so
types.
if I call someone a jock, and then I'm like, no, he's a hero, because a lot of these sports
Yeah.
players, they want to have that heroism. They want to feel empowered in the realm of the hero. So instead of calling him a jock, we call him a hero. He's dressed like a hero.
Mm,
I just feel
cool.
like
Yeah.
there's going to be a different consciousness of how we can embrace clothing and embrace other people's clothing and
Yeah.
observe them, and make them, entitle people to respect, and not have to give them these stereotypical names when we see people as dressed. Because let's face it, we all do it. We all kind of
Yeah.
stereotype
But it's
people.
fun. Yeah. To do it.
Yeah, and you can, and we
At
can
the end of the
continue to,
day.
but
Yeah.
then it can get a little
Yeah. Yeah.
raunchy. It can get a little junky, and it can get a little, well, there's got to be a higher power. There's going to be a higher self, a higher way of looking and observing someone's dress. So that's one part of it. I don't know. I love it. I'm going to be doing some more work with the
Yeah.
archetypes versus stereotypes,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
There are a lot of important questions that are kind of bundled up in that question. because, you know, fashion is the first thing that we see in another person. Um, we see the clothes more than the face. Like if we care about the face, then we focus more on the face. But and regardless, we see the clothes, and that kind of, signifies or kind of codifies our thinking uh, on that person, on what he might be or what he might do. If I ask him a question like what is the time or what street we are on, and might expect one answer as opposed to another when I encounter that person. So can you speak to, if you can try to speak a little bit about the kind of the importance of dressing in a way that doesn't scare other people, or that kind of ingratiates you into society and not pulls you away, shall we say?
Yes. Yes, this is an interesting question, and yeah, you're very deep with the
Thank
fashion.
you.
I'm trying to keep up with you right now.
Wow.
So yes, you see it on another level, like I do, and I think fashion is an experience, and fashion is a development, and fashion is a lifestyle, and fashion can also be unnatural. There's a lot of people that don't dress to comfort themselves. There's a lot of sacrifice in fashion, and I think you
Mm,
what you're saying here is a lot of people sacrifice. It's a ritual. It's a fashion ritual, and it's not healthy. And there's different levels of fashion sacrifice, but I think that part of, and this might sound a little bit too harsh, but part of dressing can be very abusive. It can be very hostile, and it can be very harmful to one's senses, to one's mind, body, and spirit. And where the world is going with the spiritual awakening and what you had said with the people needing to connect with their clothing. And this is something that will affect us because I would say I'm sensitive to other people's dress, but we all have to sort of kind of bring our connection, our sacred connection into our wardrobe. And it has to come from within. So I would say the sacrificial fashion, the fashion that people are sacrificing themselves for, that's what has to go. That's what has to sort of stop or discontinue or at least lessen.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. When you say sacrifice, I never thought about that like in that kind of intensive kind of level, which is very striking to me right now. And I have to think about that, like to sacrifice themselves for their clothing. Wow, that is very deep, very deep. Because we're not living in, we're not in the Garden of Eve, and we were all kind of, humanoid primates, and we didn't have a, there wasn't a kind of a obligatory sense of clothing, shall we say, and when it was a kind of a free for all or going commando, but um, but just one thing about kind of trying to make the world better through fashion and trying to, and this is going harkens back to the kind of environmental question. So can you tell me a little bit about how that might look when we say that we want people to dress in a certain way that doesn't hurt ourselves, and environment, because we want to at least try to preserve this kind of earth for a couple more rounds, shall we say, and not to completely eradicate ourselves and our future generations in the process. So how we might try to do that, to kind of convince people that it's more kind of germane, or at least, or it's kind of beneficial for the human existence. I'm afraid to say it like that, but it's true.
Yes.
To wear clothes that doesn't hurt themselves or the earth, Mother Earth.
Yes. So I think I would suggest really is we have to, like, one t-shirt at a time. I mean, it's not, but we have to go straight to the industry and straight to the manufacturers, straight to the designers, and we have to sort of support them in what they're doing, but also say, hey, we have an idea, we have concepts of plant-based fashion, and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my part. I don't believe I'm going to be able to tell 7 billion people. This is going to be a spiritual awakening. This is what I think. Lots of people are getting on board every day. Lots of people. So this spiritual awakening, this planetary awakening, I think it's going to be, there's going to be a turn of events, and people are going to just be naturally drawn to plant-based fibers, and they're naturally going to want to eliminate, but there still has to be a voice behind plastic. And there are several companies that are producing and supporting plant-based fashion. It's just not enough. But if I would have to say how is it going to happen? I mean, well, that's a really good question. How on earth is it going to happen? Well, I would say everybody needs to just kind of do their part, and people have to spread the information. People have to spread the information. It has to get heard, because a lot of those people, like wearing those yoga leggings, you know, they're all into the plants and everything. They're all lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle. But you don't know they're wearing the plastic bottle leggings or the polyester leggings, and it's like, I don't know how I don't know how they. Personally, I'm tactile sensitive. I don't believe it's even tactile sensitivity. I just like my cotton. I love my linen. I can't really wear polyester. I think maybe it suffocates my body. I can
me
feel
too.
it.
I'm also tactile, kind of sensitive.
Yeah, and I don't even think it could be a symptom, but it also could just be that we're aware, and we're literally aware of what it's doing to our body, and other people might not be aware. And they might be aware, but there could be some kind of mind control, brainwashing. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
It could be possible that there could be some mind control and brainwashing involved. But yes, I would say
it has to be.
Yeah, so you would
some level, of kind of indoctrination,
Yes, and that's where the planetary awakening is going to kick in, and the consciousness is just going to increase. That's my. What do you think?
Well, I know kind of from zero. Sorry, I don't know anything about that subject, unfortunately. I'm not a I'm not a businessman. I'm not an entrepreneur. I hail from the humanities. I use the scientific method and I apply it to the humanities, but I don't know exactly how to convince people to do that. That's the kind of realm of the commercialism, you know.
Yeah, there has to be promotion, positive promotion, and inspiration. Positive promotion, inspiration.
Yes. When you look at the kind of, the kind of Coca-Cola ads, yeah, so you say, wow, cola is like breathing fresh air. and you say, I have to buy Coke now because it's because yeah, it's the official freshener, shall we say, like Mentos. Wow.
Well,
But
and then I think you're right. Proper advertising would definitely convince people. You're right. Proper advertising would definitely convince people.
yes, yes, it has to be recycled times infinite, shall we say, in every kind of publishing venue and broadcasting and network and every social media, and every
Yes.
government has to band up to do something like this, that monumentous. But I think it can be done if we put a lot of heads together. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's a great answer. That's perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm not a diplomat. I never wanted to be a politician, but I try to, maybe I think of myself as trying to bring back the magic, shall we say, to the discourse and this earth, because you know the realm of magic is a real thing. I believe in magic, not in the kind of, you know, physical sense. I don't believe that we can change the physical environment with a kind of magical tricks, but we can certainly kind of fill the field of human consciousness with magic. Yes.
I believe you 100%, and I'm totally on board because I can relate with you. I've been thinking about magic a lot lately.
Mm, yeah. Wow, that was a great conversation. This was a great conversation. It's very, I have to think about a lot of things that you've said to me today, and a
Me
lot of,
too. I have learned too. Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much, Alyssa Couture,
Yeah.
of
Yes.
course.
Guy Dazen? Is it Dazen?
Dazin.
Dazin. Guy Dazin.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Great. Great pronunciation. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you. Bye bye.